the more research we did and the more we kind of got into the project, it hit us that, yeah, we could be the first people to do it, but because of the speed of deglaciation, we're going to be the last.
Welcome to Kendall Mountain Festival. I'm Rachel Crew-Smith and I'm a presenter here at Base Camp. I am delighted to welcome the Last Ride Project. I've been chatting to them during the Montane Below Zero session. So welcome, gents. Do you want to introduce yourselves?
Normally start with Edward, don't we?
Yeah, I'm Ed Salisbury.
My name is Jon Moy. I'm the filmmaker of the project. Ed is the free skier, who he forgot to mention.
And I'm Will Tucker, also a free skier and paraglide pilot, making some films with these two.
Okay, so let's start off. Why did you start this journey into outdoor adventure, Ed?
Yeah, like I said, me and Will have been skiing together all our lives. Been grateful enough to spend our lives being professional skiers, travelling all around Europe and North America, and skied on the GB team for most of my teenage and young 20s, which was wicked. Did the whole road to Sochi Olympics, broke my collarbone in several places right before, so that was great. But yeah, then kind of moved out of the snow park and skiing and man-made stuff on the mountain, and was like, let's just sod off to the middle of nowhere on a mountain and really just get lost and ski and climb really cool, inspiring lines, and going on multi-day expeditions and just exploring really cool places. And so I think that's kind of where the project stemmed from, was just skiing in places which are a bit weird and wonderful, lines which look kind of cool, and kind of gave my friend Will a call and was like, how do you fancy skiing in some weird places? I'd just come back from North Africa and I was like, wow, Africa's a weird continent, it's not really what people associate with skiing. And then I was like, wow, what other weird continents? Can we ski every continent? And then it just snowballed and was like, oh, can we ski the tallest mountain on each continent? That's kind of where the idea of can we do it became from. Like, in a very formative way, that's what the Last Ride started as. And then the more research we did and the more we kind of got into the project, it hit us that, yeah, we could be the first people to do it, but because of the speed of deglaciation, we're going to be the last. And it was that really scary moment looking at Puncak Jaya in Western Papua, photos from the 80s, the 90s, the early 2000s, and then 2018, 19, 20, when we started really investigating the mountain and looking at ski lines. Started off as the second tallest ski resort in the world, and now it's the top, less than 8 meters deep, less than 40 meters long, this chunk of ice. And that's when we gave John a call, an incredible cinematographer and director that we've been working with me and Will for the last 10 years within the snow sports realm, very much focused on filming rad skiing in snow parks and doing really cool stuff with extreme sports, winter sports. We're like, yeah, let's drag you along and pull you into the ski mountaineering world, which was very much out of his comfort zone, but to have that expertise and someone behind the camera and directing this whole narrative, that's what kind of took it to another level and allowed us to show everything we wanted to show.
So you're aiming to ski on the highest mountain on each of the 7 continents.
Specifically from the highest point of each continent, see at the top of those mountains rather than just on them, I hope.
From the highest point.
Yeah.
Okay, so have there been any challenging moments so far, Will?
Yeah, I mean, maintaining a relationship with Ed over a decade. John's faff challenges me on a daily basis for sure. But as we say, I think that's the most important. We have the balance of this guy is just on point with everything and keeps us kind of ticking boxes and making sure we've organised everything. And me and Ed are pretty high energy individuals who just go after it all the time. And how do I break it down to one? You want one challenging moment?
Well, I know there's been lots of challenges. So
I think I'll try and give you a physical challenging moment and an emotionally challenging moment if I've got a couple of them. But definitely our first like high altitude attempt in one sense is at Mount Elbrus, the highest mountain in Europe at 5,642 meters off the top of my head. And we climbed a fair bit above 4,000 meters, done quite a lot of that expedition type stuff, but just didn't give enough appreciation of how much that next 1,000 meters takes off your lungs. And we tried to do an 1,800 meter day from 3,800 meters to the top of that mountain, with like 3 days of acclimatization, because we thought we were rock stars, and we learned we weren't really hard. And yeah, just the physical struggle at that point. I'd never had that much fatigue in my legs with 400 meters of non-technical, but still terrain you couldn't really fall over on. We were wrecked, totally wrecked. We'd already lost John due to altitude sickness anyway. So that was the first sort of dig in. We've really got to push through this if we're even going to start this project, and we learned a lot from there. Similar on Aconcagua, I think I was doing better physically, but then Ed came down with pretty severe haste at the top and started acting like he'd had 40 pints or so. He just couldn't talk, couldn't walk at 7,000 meters altitude and a long way to go down. So that was a really challenging day. But the most emotionally challenging bits are definitely like our whole experience in Chile, and kind of looking at the output effects of neoliberalism and modern capitalism. And how that feels if you're, the average person in Chile living next to a lithium mine, and what that's going to do to your life. And there's a clothes pile not many people know about in Chile. They put 58,000 tons of pretty much unused clothes. 80% of them are never worn. They're made in China, for example, shipped to America, for example, and shipped back to Chile, put in a dump and set on fire. And I think the end of a pretty emotional month of meeting some people in really hard, destitute situations, standing next to a burning pile of human nonsense that is set on fire there because we can forget about it because the onshore wind takes it across the Atacama Desert, was like, what are we, who are we, what are we doing here? So I'm still wrestling with that. I'm not going to say I found a solution to like those challenging moments. That's the point of a journey, I suppose, to grow from it and keep learning from it.
It's interesting, those two types of adventure challenge, where you've got the physical challenge of respecting the mountains and what they can do to you, but also the human challenge of traveling and seeing how things affect people in other parts of the world.
I think that was another part of the mistake with the planning. All the other mountains, we seem to have done the mountain, gone there, done the physical challenge, and then left ourselves 3 weeks to a month on the ground to try and go through every human interest story affected with deglaciation in that region. And in Chile, we did it the other way around and basically went through an entire month of looking at the most difficult human situations, really emptied our tank emotionally, and then went into a really big physical challenge, and where we had problems with altitude sickness and lots of fear associated with just being in that situation again. So that's a couple of challenges for you.
The Last Ride project is not just a ski project now, is it? It's a human project. It's a global project. It's going to be some really great film coming out of that. So, John, I'm going to ask you, you're the documentary filmmaker. What advice would you give someone looking to start out on an adventure like this?
Well, I'd say that first of all, the most important thing is to go on an adventure and find something that you care about and that you love, because, at least speaking from my experience, the stuff that I'm best at is the stuff that I'm passionate about. And I think that the biggest journey that we've gone on through this is realizing that there's a lot more to being in these places than just what you take from it for yourself. So I'd say that think about where you're going to want to go, why you want to go there, and if you can convert the passion that you have for the mountains and what you do into a purpose to try and protect them or save them or do anything that allows you to have more of a deeper and more meaningful connection with the place that you want to go.
How do you think that your outdoor experiences have shaped you as a person?
I say that, as Will was saying there, we've had quite a roller coaster of experiences, some of the most joyful and incredibly motivating things that we've ever done. Overcoming physical challenges, helping each other out, dealing with each other's idiosyncrasies at altitude is not always easy. But then when you do that and you get to the summit with your closest friends, it's an amazing experience. But equally, we've had far more humbling moments where we've realized that getting to the summit doesn't mean anything. And I think that it's important to remember that, as Will said there, it's very much about the journey to try and attempt what you're doing. Like the goal of reaching a summit or doing some kind of big first or hardest, coldest thing or whatever it is really just some little hook to get you onto a journey to do something that's a little bit more interesting than what you were doing yesterday.
Okay, so the three of you, so each of you, share one word about what the outdoors means to you.
Energy.
Being humbled.
Purpose, leading on from what I was saying before.
Okay, so why is it important to share the adventure, Ed?
It's that connection to really, I think if we're coming, you can come at it from two ways, right? You can come at it from the climate point of view of, especially now with so much of the population being locked in cities, to not having access to the outdoors, or from economic or just from your social background, getting people outside and getting people stoked on their sport, their hobby, just nature in general, because we've got such a position that we're in now where we talk about humans and the environment, and we forget that we're just another animal, we're just another organism operating in the environment. And to get people out there into the mountains, for me anyway, skiing and climbing and being there and like, I am tiny, and if this mountain doesn't want me here at any point, it just speaks. And I've been in a few situations where that's come very close and is very evident, and that's when it puts you in that position of like, I'm small, but I'm part of this world, it's my duty to look after it, and to be able to be captured on camera and tell that story of skiing down really cool stuff which kind of makes people jump off their sofa and climb stuff which is super gnarly. Like, that allows people to connect to the climate conversation and not just a certain, it can be hard sometimes, you get in that kind of echo chamber of people being, I want to watch a climate doc, I'm already well informed, how do we bring another audience into that? And people were, oh, but that's crazy, I'm going to watch someone ski down this mountain, I'm going to watch someone speed fly and paraglide off that mountain, get super stoked on it, and then we weave that climate narrative in. And that's the most important thing for me, is how do we get different bums on seats to get informed with the climate, get people stoked, get people outside to see the changes, and change what they want to see in the world, I think is the big thing.
That was my point to finish John's sentence off about, like, those summits have been the most fulfilling, and getting to those places with your friends is really amazing. And then with the project we're doing, you get off the mountain and realise how utterly facile the concept of getting to the top of a mountain kind of is. Except for we're a bit aware that unless we live in a bit of a twisted society that needs some shock and awe on its TV to get you to watch it, and if we don't give them a big exciting film, then other people won't engage with the message that we find that's really important and we want to put out there. So we'd rather, I think at this point, just make a documentary about the climate that people would watch and not risk our own lives. But we're very willing and obviously still enjoying the process a bit to try and get to the top of those mountains, put a bit of risk into it to get people to watch this film, to engage with the climate messaging behind it.
So, Will, what has inspired you over this weekend?
At Kendall Mountain Festival, I think the most inspiring person I've seen so far was Genevieve Brown, was on stage just before us last night, which was pretty intimidating because she's just like force of nature, and the lady is basically overcoming her Lyme's disease by being the first black woman to solo unsupported ski to the South Pole, which, like, I guess most people need to overcome their Lyme's disease with like something, but that's just, I don't know what, it just blew my mind. And she's super impressive, ball of energy, really charismatic individual, and to see the way she's training right now to go and do something that's completely new and alien to her is really inspiring. So that's for me.
It's a unique thing about Kendall Mountain Festival that we get to meet these different adventurers, and it feels like there's no hierarchy. You can come here and go to the bar and meet Jenny Brown, or people can come and speak to you. It's a nice environment for that, isn't it?
Beautiful place.
Thanks so much for speaking to us today. Enjoy the rest of Kendall Mountain Festival. Have a lovely weekend, the Last Ride project.